So today's topic is on weirs and canal intakes, and intentionally I am putting this information before to start the weirs on the permeable foundation. So the today's presentation on weirs and the canal intakes. So weirs and the canal intake is nothing but that is what are the objectives made for the weirs and the canal intakes is nothing but. So the first objective is to divert the water from the main canal into the secondary canal. Second objective is to help maintain a more uniform flow rate over the long periods of the time. Third objective is there to measure the flow rate, that is the discharge, and to maintain a constant minimum flow depth. That means you have to utilize for the different purposes inside the canal and to control the grade of the river. So these are the objectives for the weirs and the canal intakes. So main type of the weir, that is the sharp crested weir, broad crested weir, and the V notch type of the weir. So particularly as per our the syllabus, we have to consider the vertical drop type of the weir. Now as you know, if the crest of this weir is this sharp, then definitely what would be the discharge inside this sharp crested weir. Then broad crested, if the crest is also having a broader width, then definitely you have to find out the discharge. All the hydrological conditions are going to be changed. And instead of doing that, that is if we are providing the V notch weir, as you have seen the actual difference in between the rectangular type of the weir and the triangular type of the weir. So the triangular type of the weir have the more advantages than the rectangular type of the weir, and where is the end contraction error is going to be minimized in case of the V notch weir. So the main types of the canal intakes is the lateral intake, then bottom intake, then overhead intake, which consists of the inlets in the piers are used for the water intakes. So lateral intake with damming is nothing but it is uses or it is used for a weir or similar hydraulic control structure to maintain a minimum stage, allows the optic structures, that means to continue the operating regardless of the river conditions. And third one, which is harder to design and build than a lateral intake without the damming, will have the higher environmental impact than a lateral intake without the damming. Now let us see the section of this weir. So this is the groin part. It is the part of the river training part where it is utilized. If is there any problem inside the river, then we'll go for the groins. Then this is the seal. This is the portion of the weir, and water is directly going towards the canal. This is the flushing sluices, and how this water is going to be passed here. And you see this is a power canal structure. This is a spillway section. So the different sections you have to be seen it here. So this is the way, that is the lateral intake with the damming part. Now the next, lateral intake without damming part. If offtake flow rate is limited to 1 or the 2 centimeter, assuming that is 2 centimeter per second as the discharge less than this, offtake flow rate is directly tied to river flow rate since there is no check structure, also to ensure a minimum river stage and avoid the generating the backwater, and which is more cheaper to construct it now. So the examples of the lateral intake without the damming effect. Without damming effect, this is a headwater. Head of the water is raised up, and through this power canal, where the water is going to be passed through this canal. And this is the actual section of the river. And either you have to utilize the storage structure or you have to utilize the overflow section, just like the spillway, and you divert the flow now here. So the water is going to be conveyed, and the head of the water is raised up because of by constructing the head regulators. So the bottom index, also known as a Tyrolean intake, water is directed from the river using a collection canal perpendicular to the river and covered with a screen. Particles and the debris larger than the screen are washed away on the downstream side, and flow rate in the optic canal. This is optic canal, means which is constructed near to the dam now here will always be at maximum, so this is best suited for the power production. Because of that you will be getting the sufficient heat, and by utilizing this sufficient heat you have to generate the more power now. Then sharp crested wear, as you know the formulas for the rectangular wear, that is a considered to be a sharp crested wear, where the y1 by L is greater than 1.5. Y1 is the upstream flow depth above the wear, and L is the wear length and wear. So can be used as a check structure or to measure the flow rate. So this is the equation you have to utilize for measuring the discharge in case of the sharp crested wear. As you know, the Q is equal to 2/3 CD root 2G. Instead of the L, here is taken as a B into the H1 raised to 3 by 2. And the coefficient of the discharge value, which is now equal to 0.611 plus 0.075 into the H1 by PW is the water pressure wave or this wave height. And according to the wave height, you need to find out the water pressure. So the where H1 is the total energy upstream of the weir according to the TL, and the weir is considered under the submergence where S is equal to Y2 by Y1 is greater than 0.5. If weir is submerged, then discharge equation is multiplied by this equation f of S, that is now 1 minus S raised to 3 by 2 raised to 0.38. Then what about the broad crested weir? For broad crested weir, when this line, that is this value H1 by L, is lies in between 0.07 to the 0.7, where H1 is the upstream total energy above the weir. So while studying this weir, you need to prepare the hydraulic gradient line that is required now. And according to this HL and the TL, you can be able to find out what would be the height of the piers uh, across the weir area. So the upstream total energy above the weir and L is the weir length can be used as a check structure. Also measure the flow rate, and discharge is going to be measured by using this equation, where H1 is the total energy upstream of the weir. Weir is considered submerged if PS parameter, that is the ratio of this Y2 by Y1 is greater than 0.65 now. So and you multiply this equation, if the weir is submerged the discharge, then the discharge equation is multiplied by this now value. Then weirs and the canal intakes. So for the sharp crested weir, see, this is for the sharp crested weir that is unsubmerged. And you see, this is the section, it is now under the submerged condition. And you have to observe the Y1 height, that is the head of the water. This is the water pressure, or you say the crest height, PW, and H1 is the head of water passing over the crest of the weir. Then H2 is on the downstream side, and that way you can understand with this diagram, you can understand the nature of this weir. Also for broad crested, you already I told you, the if the crest of this weir is broad, then it is a broad crested weir. According to that, you find out the water pressure towards this as per the Pascal's law, H1, Y1, and the H1 value and H2 value is on the downstream side. So the V notch weir, if you have to look out the V notch weir, so the found all over the world because of the construction and the installment is very straightforward and used primarily as a simple flow measurement device. V notch, with the help of the V notch, you know the equation 8 by 15 CD root 2G tan theta by 2 into H raised to 5 by 2. By using this equation, you measure the discharge through this V notch. So used primarily as a simple flow measurement devices, relationship between the flow height through the notch and the discharge is easily developed and measurable in the field and find out the discharge value. So weirs can also be used to improve the fishing condition. So this is a fishland pond. Fishing weirs found all over the world. Some are very simple and some involve the complex engineering. Then backup of water upstream of weirs creates a holding place of the fish now. So this is now the fish pond. So bend way weirs are used to redirect the flow. In a meander bends, if any river has facing the problem of the river bending, at that time you can utilize here. And to improve the navigational through the tight bends, usually it has angle 20 degree to 30 degree upstream. Weirs are low enough that ships can pass even in low flow. They are highly enough so that they significantly control near bed velocity and redirect the near bed streamlines now. So this is the sketch that is for the weir, bend wave weirs, just like the meandering action, zigzag motion, but it's very difficult to construct here. It is utilized for the recreational purposes. Then water drops created, you have to be observed through this hydraulic jump. These are the considerations. Canal intakes. Then a simple way to construct weir is used to the seat pile driven into the river bed up to depth up 2 to 3 times of the maximum scoring rate. Then regardless of this construction material, sides of the weir must be tied into the banks with riprap or the seat piles to keep the water from getting around the weir. And for weirs with a ramp on the downstream side, rock must be placed carefully to maintain the desired slope over the backside of the weir. Multiple weir can be used for grade control. They must be constructed so that the energy slope in between the structure matches that needed for the sediment control. So for sediment control, we have to utilize such type of the weir. Some of the failures you have to be observed. These are the photographs. That is the concrete weir is failed. This is the weirs lacking adequate type back. So actually the piping is the major problem is created inside this weir. So maximum failure of this weir is going to be occurred. These are the few examples. Right now in this way you can understand this chapter. This is the primitive information I can provide you before starting our